Hello everybody, welcome to 2C TV, your global news channel. I'm Maya 2C and the BBC is going down. It's over. President Donald J. Trump has now officially confirmed the legal action against the corporation, despite the so-called apology a few days ago, because obviously that apology was fake and President Trump knows this. President Trump also wants financial compensation. The political left are having a meltdown. The media, liberal media surrogates are defending the BBC despite the competition and the monopoly. And we're going to give you guys the latest coverage on this and get your reaction during the live stream. All right, let's begin. The BBC doubled down and said that there is no ground for compensation. President Trump initially said, his lawyers said that we're going to be seeking, they gave an option to the BBC last week or earlier in the week saying, well, based on our assessment, I believe $1 billion will be a good option, a good compensation. The BBC said no. President Trump is now saying that he will be suing the BBC for up to $5 billion. Now, the BBC will be in a massive financial crisis. They will be facing bankruptcy, considering that more people are now cancelling their TV license. In the UK, of course, the BBC without the TV license will not be able to survive. Of course, the lawsuit is being done in Florida, not in the UK, which means the BBC will probably lose it. And of course, when it comes to defamation, Florida has very strong ground in terms of their jurisdictions. President Trump has also now said that he will be discussing this with the Prime Minister Starmer over the weekend, so today or tomorrow. But he was on the plane, he was on Air Force One, talking to the reporters. He said that the UK and essentially the Prime Minister, they're embarrassed by the BBC. Let's go to the audio clip we have from the President.
You raised the issue with Sir Keir Starmer.
I have not, but I'll call him. I'm going to call him over the weekend. He actually put a call into me. He's very embarrassed. You know, I don't know what percentage is owned by the country, but regardless if it's small or large or nothing.
100%.
I can say this, the UK is very, very embarrassed by BBC, what they did.
Mr. President.
It's true. For the record, it's 100% owned by the state. Yeah. So it's not even a small a section of the BBC. Now, it's the government. It's not even the BBC is not the government's propaganda machine in the UK. It's the state's propaganda machine, which is even worse. So it's not even under the control of the politicians. It's the state. It's the deep state that has the BBC. And but of course, President Trump also doubled down on his attacks on the corporation, saying that the BBC is fake news. Let's go to that moment.
Mr. President, my newspaper, The Telegraph, has led the way in exposing...
The Telegraph?
That's right, sir. Yes.
What a job you did.
Thank you very much.
What a job you did.
We led the
Are
way.
you proud of yourselves?
We've had a good couple of weeks.
How did you catch BBC like that?
We have good sources. We found a whistleblower.
Honestly, congratulations. You did a great service to a lot of countries, a lot of great human beings, if you want to know the truth. And exposing what fake news is all about. What BBC did, nobody would even think a thing like that was done. They actually changed the words coming out of my mouth.
So the BBC has apologised and retracted the report, but they say they won't pay any compensation.
Well,
Is that enough?
We'll sue them for anywhere between $1 billion and $5 billion, probably sometime next week.
So you're ready to take legal
I think
action?
I have to do it. I mean, they've even admitted that they cheated. Not that they couldn't have not done that. They cheated. They changed the words coming out of my mouth. That's worse than what CBS did with Kamala. They changed her answer, but at least they didn't show it, coming out of her mouth.
Do you think it's appropriate that British TV viewers have to pay more than $200 just for the right to watch television? Do you think the license fee should be scrapped?
I don't know what they do in a place that I like a lot, the general UK, right? But the people of the UK are very angry about what happened, as you can imagine, because it shows the BBC is fake news. Of course, you and I knew that for a long time. But we didn't know it was this fake.
We didn't know it was this fake. Now, one of the problems here is that the BBC is not a normal company, so you can't file for bankruptcy. So when they get into financial crisis, and of course, $5 billion will be creating a financial crisis for the BBC. Unfortunately, we have the Labour government in charge, which means that they have already said, the Prime Minister, that they will be safeguarding the BBC, which means even if you cancel your TV license, Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, will be taking money from the overall general tax revenue, so income tax and everything else, corporation tax, will be using that money to save the BBC, which of course will create more outrage in the country, which will result in the downfall of the whole corporation. Now, there has been some reaction from British politicians, including the Conservative MP Suella Braverman, saying that President Trump has been slandered by the BBC, whether intentional or accidental. Well, intentional. The damage is significant. President Trump is right to sue the BBC. It's the only way things will change. Yes, I do agree. Of course, it was intentional, not accidental. Even they basically admitted, yeah, whoopsie. And but of course, the left-wing surrogates are out there. They're being busy today defending the corporation. We have the Labour MP, Dawn Butler. Oh dear. Oh, Dawn Butler is back. Okay, so Dawn Butler says that the only reason President Trump is suing the BBC is for financial gain. President Trump doesn't care about the money. President Trump has so much money that he doesn't even take his salary as president. But let's go and see what this idiot said.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's other things at play here, right? I mean, Donald Trump sees dollar signs and pound signs, and that's really his priority. I mean, that clip of the doctored speech wasn't actually shown in America. But I think it's really important that the BBC stays as a public-owned broadcaster. I think
it's not public-owned, it's state-owned, you idiot. Now, obviously, President Trump doesn't care about the money. It's about doing the right thing. And he's probably going to give that money to charity anyway, as usual. Secondly, Dawn Butler and the rest of the socialist cabal in the UK don't understand. It's not even about the BBC footage, whether it was shown in the US or not. President Trump is the leader of the free world. And his position in the international community is extremely important. If you go around, if every single country start manipulating his speeches and create a fake news, whether it's in the UK, the BBC, or CBS, or CBC in Canada, or in Australia, and every country basically, right? Every country does the same. His position in the international community will be jeopardized. And that is the most important thing, because the role of the US president is more international than normal prime ministers or presidents. So she doesn't understand it. She doesn't get the reality. And she simply wants to bring down the president. That's what they're doing. They knew what they were doing. Now, Liz Truss, the former prime minister, also went on TV and said that lots of people in Britain are cheering on President Trump, and they're backing him, of course. And that is absolutely true. Let's go to Liz Truss.
They've lied, they've cheated, they've fiddled with footage, both in the case of President Trump, but also covering up what's happening in Britain, whether it's mass migration, whether it's our economic problems. They are always biased towards the left, and the British taxpayer has had to pay for all of this fake news. So there is a lot of excitement amongst Conservatives in Britain at the moment that President Trump is actually taking the BBC on.
Now, the issue is not even just the BBC, because the battle for President Trump is the whole of the British state. And whether you're talking about the government side, that's Keir Starmer's cabinet, who are basically making things difficult for the US government, including cutting off intelligence sharing ties with the Americans over the drug cartels and the vessels in South America, or the issue around Gaza and everything else. Keir Starmer has made it very difficult, the relationship, and also in terms of the British state overall. So when it comes to, for example, the intelligence sharing relationship being cut by the Brits with the Americans, Tom Homan actually went on the Border Czar, went on TV, and he was answering some questions from the reporters. They asked him about the British state and the British government, and he did, rightly so, say, well, I don't think the UK is a friend to this country and a friend of the president. Doesn't matter what Keir Starmer wants to do in front of TV cameras, saying, oh yes, of course, President Trump, welcome to Britain, blah, 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 and follows him around everywhere like a lapdog. It doesn't matter, because the reality is the British government and the British state is currently not a friend of the Americans. Let's go to Tom Homan.
Intelligence with the US following grave concern about the legality of operations in the Caribbean. Can you confirm that, and what is your reaction to the idea that a key ally like the UK is so sceptical of the legality of your operations?
First of all, it's out of my way, but I don't think UK is a friend of this country, a friend of the president. I don't think there's skepticism. And I'm not familiar with not sharing intelligence. Again, it's out of my way. I'm the border guy, so that's a question for the head secretary or the Secretary of State.
Yeah, he's right. Now, in terms of what could come next, because one of the main reasons President Trump said he's going to be doing this, again, it's not really for financial gain anyway, he doesn't care about that. It's, he actually said it's his obligation to do this, so that to stop the BBC from doing this to other people, and they have done many times. But also he said he wants this, because obviously if this goes to trial, the courts, in Florida, it will open up the investigation. The BBC will have to, we can find out more about what they have done in the past to other people, what they've done to President Trump that we don't even know, because not everybody's been following the BBC properly, and it could put a stop to it, but potentially, obviously. It's not that they're going to learn. It's not like they're going to leave court and say, oh, we, the BBC, have learned from our mistakes. No, but they will be exposed. That's the reality. And by default, they will have to stop. Because, of course, there will be a financial crisis. They know that there are consequences now. You're not just doing it to a random person. You did it to the most powerful man on this planet. So President Trump was being interviewed by my good friend Bev Turner. And she asked him in DC about, obviously, this legal action. And he said this.
I think I have an obligation to do it. Look, I'm not looking to get into lawsuits, but I think I have an obligation to do it. This was so egregious. If you don't do it, you don't stop it from happening again with other people. I think you probably have an obligation. I'd like to find out why they did it. You know, it's so bad.
Yeah.
Who thinks like this? And I wonder if they've done it. We'll find this out. You know, the nice part about litigation is we'll find out how many times have they done it to other people. Maybe they did it to me quite a bit. You know, because I've gotten a lot of publicity over there before. You know, I was getting in Aberdeen, which is such a great place.
Yeah, so that's that. But then, I think we have the live feed from the White House now. Now, one main point is the fact that, and I'm going to get some comments in the live chat, is about who's going to be paying for the potential possible compensation to President Trump, because of course the BBC are going to be fighting this. They had a chance to just give that 1 billion. Now they're going to have to pay up to 5 billion. And there's no guarantee, by the way, that the US side will definitely win. But there is a highly possibility that the BBC will be in massive trouble. I'm going to get your reaction, but an extremely emergency situation has now happened, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news. My wife, Danielle, is now locked outside the house. She's ringing the bell. She forgot to take her keys. So stay here. Leave your questions in live chat. I'll be right back. I think you might be able to still hear me, guys. Well, that was false flag, guys. Hang on, I'm coming back. Someone rang the bell and ran away. Okay. Well, I'm back. So it wasn't even her. I'm not really sure where my wife is right now. All right, this is the sort of content you're not going to get on BBC News, right? Anyway, where were we? The sounds. What's that? I heard his wife giggle. Well, I don't know how you did because it wasn't even her. Someone said, Chris says, leave her outside. So, you really want me to sleep on the sofa tonight? Well, I can do that. Also, I'm out of breath. Yeah, someone said hot mic. I was ready. I was ready to open the door and say, shh, we got the microphone. Don't say things. Troy says, could you please take down that disgusting flag that next to ours? So, Troy, I have no idea where you're from. Considering we have, of course, the Union flag and the US flag. You could be American and you could also be Brit. And neither of these flags are disgusting, so I have a feeling you might be Canadian. If you are offended by a flag, you're going to have to find a new therapist. Because, you know, if you're that much of a snowflake that you get offended by, it's like people who get offended based on words. Oh, you can't say that word, that is so offensive. Now, Jeremy says they should have taken the $1 billion. Yeah, that would have been a much easier option. Although, as I said, there's no guarantee really. They could still get away with it. Someone said, you have lost your wife. I don't even know where she is now. Where's my wife? Troy can lick his own. Yep. That's a good advice as well. You could either get a therapist or you could lick your own backside. And I want to see if Troy will come back. Not really sure. What disgusting flag. Shut it. I know. Shane says, oi, I'm Canadian and proud of the Union Jack. Yes, I'm offended the leaf isn't up there. Yeah, okay, in my defense, I actually like the Canadian flag. It's quite nice. But the only problem is that you guys need to make up your mind in terms of your relationship with the UK. So are you now independent? Or what is the relationship between Canada and the Commonwealth? Make up your mind, guys. But Canada is great. Love Canada. Kevin says, did BBC Studios have anything to do with it? With what? My wife being kidnapped? So I have no idea where she is. And I'm blaming BBC Studios. I don't know what that's referring to, by the way. Where's Troy? I want to see if he's American or Brit. Nick says Troy works for the BBC. Troy, respond. Why are you hiding? Yeah, he's gone. Guys, I think I may have offended him. It's okay. It's fine. He's going to get angry now. All right, so Mighty Oak Story says, I'm cancelling my TV license. Just written a letter to them. Ringing the bank next week. And Tina says, TV license cancelled. Good for you. Also, someone else says, Beer Weasel says, they have made it harder to cancel. I don't, yeah, have they? So I don't know. So what is the process right now? For those who know, for those who may have recently cancelled, what is the process? Is it just to send a letter, or can you just not pay and not watch live TV? And if they comment, just tell them we don't watch live TV. I thought that was just as straightforward as that. But let me know, for those who know, what the process is. Also, a letter. Why can't they just do emails? What is it, 1998, that they require you to send a letter? Oh my God. Another Kevin. That is a big chat. There we go. What does it say? Trump should take over a privatized BBC, turn it into the TBC, Trump Broadcasting Corporation. That's actually not. That's not bad. Although TBC means something else, it sounds weird. Although TBC could also be the 2C Broadcasting Corporation. So actually, I like this idea. Go on, President Trump. Take over and hand it over to me. Rob says, what is a TV license? Okay, so for those of you who are not from Britain and watching this, the TV license is the most stupid idea I've ever heard. Basically, if you live in the UK, there is a forced tax if you watch TV, live TV. So before it used to be, until a few years ago, was if you have an actual TV, like an actual, used to say box, but it's not really a box anymore because it's flat screen. But if you had an actual TV, they used to say that you have to pay. Now they say that even if you don't have a TV, but you have a computer or a phone that has anything that has access to the internet, and you have the capability to watch live TV, you have to pay tax. By default, you have to pay tax. Now, obviously, the majority of people just say, we don't watch live TV. They can't prove that you watch live TV. They used to go around with these white vans with a satellite dish on top of it. It was basically an intimidation tactics. For some time, people believed them. They were basically, they will park outside your house on the street, and they would send out letters to people and say, we have this new technology with a satellite dish. We can see if you're watching live TV tonight. So people would get scared. So, oh no, we got caught. But that was fake. It wasn't even real. They don't have the power to, for example, storm into your house like the police. So as long as they say you don't watch live TV, you don't watch live TV, and you don't have to pay. But that's why in recent years they've been struggling massively over how to get money from people. So that answers that question. And says, hi Liz Truss, I'm just finishing your book, 10 Years to Save the UK. Yes, actually, that book is quite good. If you haven't read Liz Truss's latest book since he left office, read it. Andy says, the best news ever, Maya. The BBC think that their license payers will foot the bill. Well, I won't be. Don't watch, don't pay. So no, as I mentioned earlier, Andy, that's not how it works anymore, because the BBC have a legal safeguarding, which means that once in crisis, the Chancellor of this country, Rachel Reeves, will be using general tax revenue. So everything that the government has been making, from income tax, national insurance, corporation tax, VAT, which is sales tax, they'll be using that money to save the BBC, not the license. So even if you don't pay the license fee, you will still be paying to save the BBC, which defeats the whole purpose. What is the point of the license fee? All right, and there's a couple of super chats I missed. Sorry, guys. Someone says, oh, big comment again. It's because of massive username. The BBC will settle long before court. Well, that was supposed to be the case, but they didn't. They always do when they know they are exposed. Andrew says, seeing the fall of the British fake news network is glorious. Cheers from the US. Go on, Andrew. Absolutely spot on. Oh, another big comment. Settlement. The dopey license payers will cover it as usual. No, all taxpayers in the UK will cover it, not just the license fee payers. Someone says Trump should sue the BBC and then ban BBC journalists from press meetings at the White House or on Air Force. To be fair, I think you should do it now anyway. I think the BBC journalists can't be trusted, so they shouldn't be having any access to the White House or Air Force One for that matter. Vulcan Rumble says the only reason to watch TV is sports and weather. You can get both on your phone. Yeah, so that's technically speaking, this is one of the problems, by the way. So you don't necessarily need TV to watch live sports anymore. So you can watch it on your mobile devices, right? You could watch it on TV, but smart TV, so an app, whether it's Amazon Prime or whatever you have, or even Sky. The only issue is So the BBC would cover some of the live sports, right? So like World Cup stuff, the Olympics, some of the football games. But even though, in order to watch, for example, Premier League games, you don't need a BBC, technically speaking, because you're still watching live TV even on your phone, the Sky app, you still have to pay the license fee, which is absolutely wrong. I know why they did that, because the point was, well, if you have access to live TV, you're eventually going to click on BBC News at some point, so you're going to have to pay us. But all you have to do is just have a paywall. That's all they have to do. Just have a paywall. If someone's not paying the license fee, just block the BBC channels. That's all you have to do. It's not that difficult. Garbage. Now, Neil says, if you go online to cancel your TV license, you will be told on screen to phone them up. Clown World TV has done a few videos. That is embarrassing. What is this? It's 2025. Yes, it's on purpose again. They want to make it difficult for you to cancel. I wonder what they say if you call them. Are you sure you want to cancel? Would you like a discount? Is it like, you know, when you want to cancel your gym membership, they try to keep you and using every trick possible, or your bank account. Would you like some extra free channels? Alvin says the Canadian flag is a great flag, as is the Union Jack, and the stars and the stripes. They tell the story and give basic info. That's the most perfect way of putting it. Thank you, Alvin. Yes, I agree. And remigration on a massive scale. Greetings from Germany. Let's remigrate the BBC journalists. Let's do it. Deport them all to Gaza, because they will feel more at home in Gaza, obviously. Also, I love how our live feed from the White House, outside the White House, is just completely blurry. At least I can see the flag moving on the right-hand side, but it's very blurry. Somebody needs to fix the camera. Fix the focus, guys. It's embarrassing. Now, NJ says, you can't get through on the phone. I did this, and Maya 2C is right. Threats about being illegal. Yeah. They used to be so vicious. But yeah, even if you never watch BBC, you need a license if you watch any live television or stream live TV. Yeah. Although it doesn't apply to YouTube. They are trying to add YouTube to it, which is really bad. But if you watch, Amazon Prime has live TV, technically. So you can watch live sports and things like that. What else? There are a number of platforms that give you access to live TV. Roku and the others. So you'll be in trouble, basically, if you watch that. Basically, if you don't live in the UK, don't bother moving, because you wake up in the morning, you have to pay tax. Alan says, hi 2C, just finished your book, How to Stay Alive in Iran as a Tourist. I'm not that stupid to go to Iran as a tourist. That's a terrible idea. And Ollie says, I told them I only watch YouTube and know their channels according to their guidelines and don't wish to be further contacted. Yes, just block their numbers. Somebody else says, Luke says you cancel a BBC license by direct debit on your bank account. Yeah, I guess that's the only way, because I think that's how we did it. You just cancel it in terms of the payments and ignore the letter, right? Not much to do. You don't have to call them. Ignore them. Ghost them. I am Irish, and it's called the Union flag. It's only Union Jack when flown at sea. So I still go with that mentality. I still call it the Union flag, but I was corrected by Jacob Rees-Mogg about the history of it. So we used to think in school and everything else, as you grow up, that it's Union flag. It's only Union Jack if it's on a boat, basically. But Jacob Rees-Mogg gave me a rant one day to explain it. I completely forgot the reasoning. But no, that was a misconception. So you can technically still call it the Union Jack, but I would rather call it the Union flag. So there was it's a semi-myth, but there was a reasoning behind it that you can technically still call it the Union Jack. But I'm fine with Union flag. It's a flag. I think, but the point of it was that it started as, if it's flown at the sea, it's Union Jack, obviously, by default. But I think over time, even about 200 years ago, 150 years ago, they still called the flag, wherever it was, the Union Jack. That's why. Now, somebody said nuke Israel. What's that got to do with the BBC? Another big super chat. Oh my god. Just ring them. Tell them you don't watch live TV or iPlayer. Job done. License count. Yeah, I don't know why you should even call them. Just don't pay. And if they find you, you just say you don't watch live TV. That's it. Because you watch 2CTV. And having access to 2CTV Plus, you don't need a license fee because obviously it's our independent platform. And obviously you should join 2CTV Plus because if you're not joining, then what are you doing? What is the point of life? Scan the QR code right now. Do it. Or just go directly on 2c.tv. And if you use, where is that screen thing gone? I don't even know what I'm doing. There we go. Bottom of the screen. If you use the promo code YT10, you get 10% off annual memberships. Unfortunately, some of you guys missed the promo code that we had until last night, which was RIP BBC. That's gone now. The deadline is over. That was 50% off. See, you missed out. But you can use YT10 to get 10% off. Once you join directly on the website, then download the 2CTV app. Use the login details. Don't join on the app because you can't use the promo code on the app. It goes through Apple and Android or whatever. But download the app from the App Store today. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll come back later with more updates. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.